If electrolytes are supposed to help, why do some people feel worse after adding them? The answer is usually not the electrolyte idea itself. It's the way it's being used. Electrolytes are minerals that carry electrical signals and help manage fluid balance. The big three are sodium, potassium, and magnesium. But calcium and chloride matter too. When the mix is off, you can feel headaches, fatigue, cramps, dizziness, or a weird, wired but tired feeling. And it can be confusing because those symptoms also happen when you're low. So people double down and feel even worse. In this breakdown, you'll get 7 common mistakes. Each one includes what it tends to feel like and the simple fix that usually works. This is especially relevant if you sweat a lot, eat low carb, fast, drink a lot of water, or use caffeine often. Small adjustments can make a noticeable difference in how you feel day to day. Moving to slide 2. Mistake number 1 is treating electrolytes like a one-size-fits-all product. Your needs change with sweat, heat, altitude, workouts, and even stress. They also change with your diet. If you eat mostly whole foods, you may already get a lot of potassium and magnesium. If you eat very low carb, you often lose more sodium and water through the kidneys. If you're smaller, you may need less total. If you're doing long endurance sessions, you may need more, but spread out. The right amount is really a range. A common sign you're overshooting is puffiness, thirst that doesn't go away, or stomach upset. A sign you're undershooting is lightheadedness when standing, muscle cramps, or low energy during exercise. The practical fix is to start with a modest dose and adjust based on context. Think in terms of patterns, how you feel after sweaty days versus rest days. Moving to slide 3. Mistake number 2 is focusing on magnesium or potassium while ignoring sodium. Sodium is the main mineral that holds water in the bloodstream. When sodium is low, you can drink plenty of water and still feel weak or headachy. This shows up a lot with heavy sweating, long walks or runs, sauna use, and low-carb eating. It can also happen if you're intentionally eating very low salt. People sometimes add magnesium for cramps and wonder why they still feel off. Magnesium helps muscles relax, but it doesn't replace the basic fluid balance job sodium does. The fix is simple. Match sodium to your losses. Salting meals more consistently is often enough. For long sweaty sessions, a drink with sodium can be useful, especially if plain water makes you feel worse. If you have high blood pressure or kidney issues, sodium targets should be individualized with a clinician. But for many active people, low sodium is the missing piece. Moving to slide 4. Mistake number 3 is taking too much sodium too fast. Even if you need more sodium overall, a big bolus can irritate the stomach. It can also make you feel intensely thirsty, flushed, or slightly nauseated. Some people interpret that as "I'm still depleted," and they take another dose. The better approach is pacing. Your gut and your kidneys handle minerals better when they come in gradually. If you use electrolyte packets, consider splitting one serving across a bottle and sipping over time. If you salt food, spread it across meals instead of doing a huge salty snack all at once. Also pay attention to concentration. A very strong mix in a small amount of water can cause digestive distress. A practical rule is, if it tastes aggressively salty, it may be too concentrated for fast drinking. You want steady replacement, not a shock to the system. This pacing alone fixes a lot of electrolytes make me feel worse stories. Moving to slide 5. Mistake number 4 is chasing potassium supplements without respecting the safety window. Potassium is essential for nerve signals and heart rhythm. But large supplemental doses can be risky, especially if you have kidney disease, take certain blood pressure medicines, or have conditions that affect potassium handling. Even without those, high-dose potassium pills can irritate the stomach. The bigger issue is that many people don't actually need aggressive potassium supplementation. Whole foods are the safer default: potatoes, beans, yogurt, leafy greens, and fruit. If you're using electrolytes, look for moderate potassium amounts rather than megadoses. Symptoms of too much potassium can be vague at first: weakness, tingling, or an odd heavy feeling. The fix is to prioritize food sources and keep supplemental potassium conservative, unless a clinician has told you otherwise. Potassium matters, but it's not a more is better mineral. Moving to slide 6. Mistake number 5 is using the wrong type of magnesium, or taking it at the wrong time. Magnesium is involved in muscle function, sleep quality, and energy metabolism. But magnesium on a label can mean very different forms. Magnesium oxide is cheap and often poorly absorbed, and it can cause diarrhea. Magnesium citrate can also loosen stools, which is sometimes useful, but not if you're already prone to digestive issues. Magnesium glycinate is often gentler for many people. Another issue is timing. Taking a large dose right before a workout can cause bathroom urgency. Taking it with no food can also bother some stomachs. The fix is to choose a form that fits your goal and tolerance, and to start with a small dose. Many people do better taking magnesium with an evening meal. If cramps are your issue, magnesium may help, but it works best as part of a broader electrolyte plan. Moving to slide 7. Mistake number 6 is drinking lots of plain water while you're losing salt. This is a classic setup for feeling worse. When you sweat, you lose both water and sodium. If you replace only water, you can dilute sodium levels. You might notice headaches, nausea, fatigue, or feeling washed out. This can also happen if you're doing long hikes, endurance workouts, or working outdoors, and you're proud of how much water you're drinking. Hydration is not just volume, it's the balance between fluid and minerals. The fix is to pair water with sodium when losses are high. That can be salted food, broth, or an electrolyte mix with meaningful sodium. You don't need electrolytes for every sip of water in normal daily life, but during long sweaty periods, plain water only can backfire. A good approach is alternating some plain water, some electrolyte fluid, plus salty meals. Moving to slide 8. Mistake number 7 is assuming your symptoms are electrolytes when they're actually sugar, caffeine, or low overall calories. A lot of electrolyte drinks come with sweeteners or sugar alcohols. For some people, those cause bloating, cramps, or urgent bathroom trips. Others use electrolytes alongside a lot of caffeine, which increases fluid loss and can raise jitteriness. And if you're dieting hard or fasting, fatigue and dizziness can come from low energy intake, not just minerals. Electrolytes can help with some fasting-related lightheadedness, but they won't replace calories forever. The fix is to isolate variables. Try a simple formula with minimal ingredients. Watch your caffeine timing and dose. And if symptoms improve when you eat a balanced meal, that's a clue. Electrolytes are a support tool. They work best when the basics are covered. Enough food, enough sleep, and reasonable stimulant use. Otherwise, you're treating the wrong problem. Moving to slide 9. Now let's make this practical with a quick symptom to mistake map. If you feel puffy, overly thirsty, or get a salty stomach churn, think too concentrated or too fast, especially with sodium. If you feel lightheaded when standing, get headaches after sweating, or feel better after salty food, think not enough sodium. If your main issue is loose stools, cramps in the gut, or sudden urgency, think magnesium form or sweeteners. If you feel weakness that's hard to explain, and you've been using high potassium products, think potassium dose, and be conservative. If you feel washed out after drinking a lot of water, think dilution. This isn't a diagnosis tool. It's just a way to stop guessing and start testing one change at a time. The key is to change only one variable for a few days. Keep notes on workouts, heat exposure, and what you took. Patterns show up fast when you track them simply. Moving to slide 10. Let's talk about timing because it's where most people accidentally mess up. Electrolytes work best when they match the moment you're losing fluids. That's usually during and after sweating, not randomly at night because you remembered. For workouts under an hour, many people do fine with normal meals and water. For longer sessions, heat, or heavy sweaters, small sips during activity can prevent the crash later. Afterward, pairing electrolytes with a meal is often more comfortable for the stomach and helps you retain fluid. Another timing trap is stacking. Coffee in the morning, a hard workout, then a strong electrolyte drink all at once. That can feel like anxiety, not hydration. Spread inputs out. If you're using magnesium for sleep or cramps, evening with food is a common sweet spot. If you're using sodium for low-carb adjustment, distribute it across the day. Timing turns electrolytes from a blunt tool into a precise one. Moving to slide 11. Another overlooked issue is that electrolyte needs are not just about exercise. They're also about your environment and routines. Hot weather increases sweat loss, even if you're not working out. Dry air and altitude can increase breathing-related water loss. Alcohol can increase fluid loss and mess with sleep, which changes how you perceive fatigue. High-protein diets can increase water needs, and low-carb diets can increase sodium needs. Even a stomach bug or a few days of diarrhea can change the whole picture. The mistake is using the same electrolyte plan in every season and every situation. The fix is to build a simple decision rule. On low sweat days, rely mostly on normal food and water. On high sweat days, add sodium and fluids earlier than you think you need them. When travel, heat, or alcohol are involved, be more conservative with concentration and more consistent with small doses. Context is the hidden variable that makes electrolytes feel random. Moving to slide 12. Let's build a simple, balanced baseline you can personalize. Start with food first. Salt your meals to taste and include potassium-rich foods most days. If you're active, consider an electrolyte drink only when you're sweating for a while, in heat, or when plain water leaves you feeling worse. Keep the formula simple: meaningful sodium, moderate potassium, and magnesium in a tolerable form. Avoid stacking multiple products that all contain the same minerals. That's how doses quietly get too high. If you're troubleshooting, pick one product and one routine for a week. Pay attention to 3 signals: thirst, urine color that's not extreme, and how you feel when standing up quickly. Also notice workout performance and recovery. The goal is not to chase a perfect number. It's to feel steady and resilient. If you have kidney disease, heart failure, or take medications that affect electrolytes, your baseline should be set with medical guidance. For everyone else, start simple and iterate. Moving to slide 13. Before we wrap up, here are a few red flags where you should stop experimenting and get professional input. Persistent vomiting or diarrhea can cause rapid shifts in electrolytes. Chest pain, fainting, severe weakness, or palpitations should be taken seriously. Swelling in the legs, sudden weight gain, or shortness of breath can signal fluid balance issues that aren't a DIY project. If you have kidney disease, uncontrolled high blood pressure, heart failure, or you're pregnant, electrolyte strategies should be individualized. And if you're taking medications like diuretics or certain blood pressure drugs, potassium and sodium changes can matter more. The point isn't to scare you. It's to keep this practical and safe. For most people, the common mistakes are about concentration, timing, and balance. Fix those, and electrolytes usually become boring, in a good way. If you want a quick recap, don't guess your dose, don't ignore sodium, don't slam huge servings, be cautious with potassium, choose magnesium wisely, don't overdo plain water during sweat, and don't blame electrolytes for a caffeine or calorie problem. Moving to slide 14. Here's the clean takeaway. Electrolytes help when they match your actual losses and your actual diet. They backfire when the mix is unbalanced, the dose is too aggressive, or the timing is random. If you felt worse after electrolytes, the most common culprits are too much sodium too fast, too little sodium overall, or a magnesium form that doesn't agree with you. Start with a simple plan, change one thing at a time, and let your symptoms guide small adjustments. If you want one action step, do this. The next time you sweat for a long time, don't just chug water afterward. Add a modest sodium source and sip it slowly. Then, compare how you feel over the next few hours. If this was helpful, subscribe for more practical nutrition breakdowns that focus on what actually changes how you feel. And I'm curious, when you use electrolytes, do you feel better with more sodium or more magnesium? Share A or B in the comments. This information is not a substitute for medical